Welcome, guys, gals, ghouls, friends, fiends, weapon crew, and new listeners. Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. It is February, Sunday the 19th. February, Monday the 20th for those of you across the pond and beyond. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you. And thank you so much for joining us this evening on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. I'm your host, Tessa TNT, and we are broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. Thank you so much once more for joining us this evening. We have an epic show on the way. It's going to be cut a little short, but it's going to be good. So if you're listening to us live right now, you may be listening to us on KPNL Radio. You can also find us live on We Are Paradox Media under Spreaker. And we're also live right now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So if you want to listen to us in your free time, whether you're working it, or working out, make sure you tune in to us once more under We Are Paradox Media at Spreaker, Twitter, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Tumblr, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Deezer, Podcast Addict, and Podcast Chaser, as well as Podvine. So we have Mr. J. Yates and Miss Marie Yates, who are more commonly known for their frequent appearances on popular paranormal reality television shows, such as, but not limited to, Ghost Adventures, Haunted Case Files, Seasons 1 and 2, Paranormal Witness, Ghost Adventures, Aftershocks, and The Scariest Night of Our Lives. Jay, being haunted since birth and undergoing a near-death experience, has created a lifetime of personal paranormal experiences. And Marie, she inherited these hauntings in and through marriage and has brought the Yates family haunting countless supernatural encounters in and outside the field of paranormal investigations. So the Yates family haunting has been captivating audiences around the world for the better part of a decade. The Yates appear regularly at events and lectures discussing their own ongoing paranormal experiences, as well as the knowledge gained with them being haunted survivors. So outside of lectures, radio, television, and events, the Yates have a strong drive to help families that struggle with the paranormal as they once did. The Yates aren't your average paranormal investigators. The Yates spend much of their available time conducting what they call paranormal consultations, rather than the often damaging paranormal investigations of family homes. Together, they lead a successful team of passion-driven paranormal investigators into the darkest corners of the desert Southwest. Now they've moved it eastwards. The Yates founded Crossing Over Paranormal Society, the COPS crew, to help both the living and the dead. Their ongoing mission is to seek only truth, understanding, and proof of the paranormal by any means necessary. Their approach to the paranormal has brought many families peace back into their homes and assisting families putting back together their broken families. The paranormal is not a way of life for the Yates, it is their life. Even today, the Yates live haunted and learn the balancing act between walking the thin line between both the living and the dead. Welcome, you guys, and thanks so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having us.
So far as the paranormal goes, how is it back east? Are you guys having any hauntings there? Have you had anything follow you, or?
Well, Jay's always haunted. So whenever he has been to stay in Arizona, it followed him. But Jay has another wonderful collection of haunted items as well that he brought with us to Tennessee.
Oh, nice.
So, I mean, that stuff is here. But there are a lot of things that we don't have here that we experienced in Arizona. Some of that has to do with the city. But we get to go there and visit quite often.
Nice. So yeah, you guys said living there in Tennessee is quite different than Arizona. It is. I don't know. I didn't really enjoy Tennessee, but I don't know, that's just me. And I had some bad experiences there, but
it's a huge culture shock. I will say that compared to back west to here. I will say that.
Bunch of thumpers.
Yes.
Awesome. So, did you guys start another group over there in Tennessee, or are you guys putting your toes in the water, or is it hard because it is like in the Bible Belt?
A little bit of both. I mean, it is a different, it's a different change. Let's just put it that way. But there's no shortage of haunted locations out there.
Yeah, I'm trying to
remember. We do have our team still located in Arizona. And we have another team now that started doing over here on the East Coast now a little bit. So we're starting expanding a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, is it hard to get used to the twang over there?
Yeah, a little bit.
It's like, what'd you just say?
Yes. It is almost like another language out here.
Yeah. Well, I have a different style of clothing to wear, and I like my horror and Ouija board and all that, and where we move, people don't like that. I get very much dirty looks a lot.
Oh, well.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
I still wear them all the time and don't care.
Yeah. That's the way to be. Can't let the South get you down. So, Jay, as far as your guys' bio goes, when did your haunting first begin?
For me, like, since birth, I've experienced phenomenon I really couldn't understand. And it was back as early as I can remember. It was difficult. As a young kid, we didn't have all these reality TV shows to watch and to feel like we weren't alone, right? But things have changed quite a bit.
Can you tell us a little bit about what exactly happened to you or what you experienced?
For me, I would experience just full body apparitions of mostly children growing up. They would appear to me as they looked at their moments of death, whether that was a fire, car accident, drowning. So it was pretty intimidating as a kid seeing that stuff and understanding really what it was. So I spent a lot of sleepless nights and scared days dealing with it. I had a pretty supportive family that would listen to me about it. And were pretty supportive of my gift or my curse, I guess.
Right? Has that affected you as far as like your sleep schedule and stuff? Like for me, having those experiences as a kid, like I still have issues getting to sleep at a normal time and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, and it still does. I mean, it really doesn't hesitate. It is difficult to get to sleep sometimes.
I call him a vampire.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely affected all aspects of my life.
If it wasn't for work, regular work, he would be awake all night long. Just sleep during the day.
Yeah, it's so hard to do like a regular 9 to 5 job or whatnot. I prefer night shift.
I did that for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, luckily I work with a girl now, and she's a night owl too, so I can go to work at 1 and everything's all good. So Marie, it says that you inherited this, so did things start to appear to you after you and Jay had started dating or got married, or how did that all happen for you?
It started right before we got married. He was actually going to propose to me. I had no idea. But before he did that, he wanted to let out the air of everything he's experienced. To be honest with you, all the stories that he told me that he did experience, I don't know why I didn't run. But I didn't. But that same night, I had my very first paranormal experience. And I will tell you, it scared the living crap out of me. I think I seriously, I ran. I ran. And you tell paranormal listeners don't run, but I did run that first time. It scared the living crap out of me. Those things that flew out of the freezer that we knew shouldn't have kept, and it just kept doing it. And then lights kept coming and pulsating really bad, and then one blue actually.
Wow.
And then I seen this creature, and it seemed like it was running out of my house, and my children weren't there, so it completely freaked me out. I didn't chase the creature itself. Like now, I probably would have chased the creature after so many years. But I went towards my kids. But it was so real. I think I argued with them because it just moved to Arizona myself. I'm originally from Indiana. So when I went there, I was like, well, maybe it was one of you guys' wild animals that you guys have here. Because they're really creepy looking when I first moved there. I was like, now I'm used to them. Like, but I thought it was happening. I explained to Jay, he goes, no, we don't have animals like that. But after that, I think I just started having like experiences that I never heard anybody, like spirits and stuff. And I think it was like 4 or 5 years into the marriage. I started hearing things, and then I thought it was going nuts. But with Jay and then other people in the paranormal field, I sort of just learned that I had abilities I'm very judgmental about myself and what I hear and stuff. I was like, is it just my brain? So I won't do no readings or anything, but I certainly probably could. I just don't trust myself enough to do that.
Yeah, there's always that questioning. Is that right? Is it not? But things probably occur to you like, you know it's going to happen, then it does, and different things like that. It's kind of the same with me. Like, I don't advertise it because I don't want to do readings. Because I have that doubt in my head.
Yeah. I doubt myself all the time. He's the one that believes in my everything I do. Because he honestly is like, everything I say to him, he's like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. It happens all the time now. I'm sort of used to it now in a way. But, like, with other people, with him, I'm okay with it. Because even if I made a mistake and, I misheard something, it's okay with him. I'm able to make mistakes with him. But like the public or, you know, going to someone's house or something like that, I have a really hard time doing it. I don't really use my abilities that very much while we're investigating, unless it's just me and him.
Yeah. Always listen to your gut.
Yes.
So what did that creature look like?
What was it called? I said it looked like gargoyle. Yeah. I love it. It's like those things in those castles on TV and stuff. It just, the only thing is, it wasn't gray. It was like a very tan-looking creature. So it was just like, I don't know. The ears were very pointy, and I just couldn't believe what I see.
Yeah, did it kind of remind you of like a gremlin? But smaller ears?
Well, I guess in a way it could, if it was a smaller one. If the feet on this was like this small, the head and the ears were what was really big on it. And the arms were pretty big as well, but the feet were like, I don't know, that's really nice, like it was some kind of animal. Like, to this day I'll still like, is it an animal? I've never seen something.
Did it have like
Yeah.
a slick reptilian skin?
You know what, I couldn't tell on that one, to be honest with you, because I ran to my house
Yeah.
rather than closer to it, so I couldn't tell you what. I just remember the color of it and what it's supposed to look like. I remember the nose and the black eyes. The eyes were so black. I've never even seen that color black before. It was so deep. Honestly, if I kept staring at it, I felt like I was gonna like disappear or something. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, I actually saw those in Arkansas at my granny's farm, and they were around this fire, and some of them were beating on drums, some of them had like little staffs or spears, and they were going around the fire and chanting, and I think they noticed that I was looking out at them, because I was like, why is there a fire in Granny's chicken yard, you know? And they all stopped at once and looked, and so I slammed myself in bed, pulled the sheet over my face, and you could see the shadows coming up to the window, and you can hear them scratching up the side of the wall, and then they eventually started going after my brother and caught him, and he's just had issues ever since. But it's a good thing that it was running from your house and not to your house, seriously.
Yes. I to this day, I don't know if it was in the house, to be honest with you. I mean, the kids were so little. I mean, Brandon was in diapers. And then, it's funny, he's 21 now. That's how long ago this was. But yeah, so it's, I don't know if it was in the house, but it was freaked me out a lot. I remember him, he was more experienced, but he actually explored all around the whole house. Like, he was just checking everything. I just wanted to run to the house, hide under a blanket with my kids.
Yeah. Have you guys
Still married me.
And had way more creepier things that's happened to me since then.
Yeah. Have your kids had experiences too? Like, are they gifted as well?
My oldest is not. He doesn't really care for the paranormal. He supports us and loves us what we do. But not my oldest. Now our middle one, our autistic one, he does have abilities. But we try to keep him away from it a little bit because he's autistic and has mental illness, so it's really hard. But my youngest one, he's into the paranormal. I don't know if he has abilities. I really don't yet. Sometimes I think he does, but then there's other times that like, oh, maybe not.
He's still young, Jenna.
Yeah, he's so young, and I guarded him all the way up until he was 18 and I let him do hardly anything.
Yeah, my youngest, she's constantly like trying to get me to do things here around the house, and I'm afraid to because I think that can activate things. And so it worries me, and she gets super bummed out about it, but she's only 7, but she's totally into it. I think I saw your son.
Our youngest is always, I didn't know of this, but he was always doing investigation stuff behind my back. Dad knew. I didn't know.
That's true.
I would have been really mad.
Right? I know, it's scary. So
It is. I think a lot of the stuff that we have experienced, and when I watched my autistic son go through, I didn't want my younger one to, so I sort of guarded him way more than maybe I should have. I don't know, but he is 21 now. He really wants to get into the paranormal, so I'm just supporting him and trying to teach him, the best way to do it.
So as far as like tools and stuff you use, you talked about the Ouija board earlier. Do you use that or?
You know what? I will not play with a Ouija board. Never use one. I honestly am so scared of it. It has nothing to do with, do I think the Ouija board is bad? I think a Ouija board can be bad. I think anything can be bad, honestly, in a lot of this equipment. Just like all, obelisks, to all this kind of stuff. All of it can be bad. A Ouija board is just a cardboard paper, more or less. It's a game. If you put something into it, it can be bad. Me, the reason why I'm scared of it is the way I was raised. For so long, it was drilled in my head that the Ouija board was bad, it was the devil. So I just won't touch it. He used to go into Target stores and throw Ouija boards at me. Because I was so scared of it to be. Now I can hold a Ouija board, don't get me wrong. I can hold it now. I'm not like scared of it like that. I just don't, I won't perform anything on it or play it. He has.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about intent when it comes to anything that we use in the board. It is what it is. It's a tool. The problem with the board is you're opening up a conversation with something you don't know, just like with anything. You're taking that call to the other side, and you just need to close it when you're done, Staying goodbye is always important. And we run into issues with Ouija boards, and we get cases because of boards, just because they got scared and didn't close out that conversation. We just have to come in and close. It's pretty much as simple as that.
I love I guess the meaning of the Ouija board that like the paranormal field uses it. Well, most paranormal people. I love it how they use it to communicate. But then there's that portion of people that use it to do stuff that they shouldn't do with it. So
that's just like with anything.
That's with anything. But I mean, I have a lot of respect for stuff like that. It's just you have to learn to balance it, what's good and bad, and what you should do. And like he said, when you're open, communication with the other side, you have to close that as well.
Definitely. Yeah, I hate the way that they, produce it and kind of target kids. And, everybody's like, it's just a game, there's nothing to it, but there really is. And I like the way you guys said, it's just like with the Ovilus or anything else. Like, it's all in your intention, and, anything can happen with those tools.
I've had used to be ghost tours in Boulder City, and I remember a mother came with her children, and I think they were like 7, 8 years old or something, and she was talking to me, asking me about a Ouija board. Because I guess one of her, nephew or niece or something went to their house, and their kids wanted to play it, and they were asking my advice about it. And she was letting them play with, they had their own, obelisks and all this other equipment, and I tried to explain to her that those are the same thing as a Ouija board is, in a way. I was like, you just have to know what you're doing with it and learning how to close out things.
Let's just face it, Hollywood painted a huge bad image of what Ouija board. I mean, they could have done movies about Ovilus, ITC technology. I mean, that gets you in even deeper, in my opinion, than the board. But again, it all falls back with an intent. And when you're conjuring something with intent, there's a whole lot of factors to it. But you're opening up doorways in communication and not closing it. That's the typical problem that we all grew up as a kid. Or when we as a message we call it the home, is because as soon as something finally does happen, everyone freaks out and doesn't want to tell mom, then they hide the Ouija board they weren't supposed to have under the bed, and they call someone like Marie and I to come out to explain what happened. And then their mind and their create something much bigger usually than what's actually happening. Putting things into perspective, things to help you out quite a bit.
I think it's just a lot more education. I like these events that we get to put on, and then a whole bunch of other people put on throughout everywhere. It's for us paranormal investigators to teach these people that, like, you know, all equipment can do the exact same thing as much as just a Ouija board. I mean, it is weird that the Ouija board got the best, the best thing of it. But to be honest with you, I grew up in the church. I mean, I grew up in church. My mom was a Bible preaching woman, and to this day she still is. She respects us, what we do now. I mean, she's totally one of our biggest supporters. But I mean, back then, I spent almost every day at the church. You know, that's how I grew up, and it was just like, so even rock and roll music.
Dungeons and Dragons.
That's how I grew up.
Yeah. So you guys miss Vulture City?
What was that? I'm sorry,
Vulture City, like where you guys did your investigations and you had tours and stuff there. Do you guys miss it, or?
Yeah, I mean, it was hard leaving. You know, you develop relationships with these spirits on the other side. You develop relationships with people that were involved with the town. It was hard saying goodbye to a lot of those spirits that you develop such great rapport with. But we go back regularly and visit. I'd be lying if I say I don't miss it. But it was difficult. It was difficult being but you know, when we come back, it's always like a big, huge reunion for our friends that are here still with us on Earth, and the others that have passed and are on the other side, you know?
Yeah, I think Vulture City for me is my peaceful place. The spirits there, don't get me wrong, I've had some bad experiences, but I mean, most of them are good, to be honest with you, and it's just, I don't know, it's like a family there. I mean, I will say, I miss Vulture more than I say we'll do Arizona. I wish we could move Vulture City Ghost Town to Tennessee, it's closer, but it wouldn't be the same, but I'm glad we do get to go visit. Plus, we get to see all of our friends from back west. We're actually going to be in Arizona next month, in March, for an overnight event. A lot of people want to go spend a night there, and one location that's, you won't be able to sleep there.
Yeah. Is that the one with the office upstairs, or is that another building?
That's one of them, yeah.
That is one of them.
Yeah. We lock the town down for an entire night once a year, allow people to come out, set up tents, camp out there. So it's an investigation from dusk till dawn. There's a portion of the evening that's led, and then the rest of the night is pretty much yours. If you're an investigator that wants to come there and just immediately jump into investigating, you're able to do that. We remove all the barriers and everything for people to actually get there and a close look at all the buildings. Something that's allowed during the day when you regularly visit there.
And a lot of teams come out, and that's like an opportunity for teams to do like team, you know, things together and learn how to investigate. Plus, get really good evidence. I mean, because you can have 100 people in Vulture and still catch evidence.
So it's pretty big.
It's really big. So
it's 16 buildings across several acres. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've watched a few shows on that. Paranormal Files was one of my favorite because, you know, it's a dad and son team, and they did get to go upstairs, and just the experiences they had there was pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah. Coleman's awesome. Coleman, yeah. They got some really cool stuff. In fact, Coleman, when he was out there, he got some really interesting audio coming from the brothel. And unfortunately, like, he actually got his camcorder stolen on his way back home, and that SD and everything that was with that is just gone. But like, they literally got some ladies of the night acting on audio. It was just so amazing, and I feel so bad that he lost that. But that was a great investigation.
And Colin's one of our ones that like comes out to our Paracon quite often. So he loves to come out and just investigate Vulture. I mean, so his family does.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. I dig the guy. So, Marie, you did have a negative experience. Was it like a possession or an attack, or what happened?
Wow, which time?
I know which time.
The one by the tree, the hanging
The
tree?
very first time I had anything that bad happen at Bolton, I got punched, to be honest with you. It was the most weirdest experience. People looking at me like, oh, you got punched by a ghost? I mean, and how can you explain that? You just know a punch. And I was punched in my gut. It knocked me down for a little bit. I mean, and I guess I woke up not being myself for a little bit. I sort of tapped him, and I didn't know I did. And then I ended up getting rushed to the emergency room.
Wow.
And there was another person that was a volunteer that actually witnessed me getting punched. They actually saw my gut getting punched. And they didn't see the person that did it, but they saw like my gut getting pushed in and me falling over. So it was one of the strangest things. I will say, people say, do you think it's demonic? To be honest with you, I don't believe it's demonic. You have to remember, there's friendly ghosts and then there's angry ghosts. And you have to remember, the Bolton City Ghost Town when the mining was going, this was back in 1886, and to all those years. I mean, back then, women weren't allowed to be in places to work and stuff. So women had to be in the kitchen or in the house cleaning or whatever, barefoot and pregnant back in that day. I mean, but so I think these men were mad at me because I was charged and I had a huge event and I brought over 100 people there. It was our first time Vulture had that many people in the town.
Over 100 years ago?
For over 100 years. The owner actually pointed that out. And
you gotta remember, ghosts are people too, and you have some people in life that are good people, and you have some people that are pricks. And this was probably one of those pricks that wasn't so happy that we were there. Specifically her, because she's the one that helped coordinate getting all that together. It's an old ghost town, and a mining town at that, so I'm sure that they, didn't like a whole bunch of people that are messing around with their gold.
Definitely.
the other time that happened was just actually recently at the last Paracon. There was a lot of, I will say, I've been really sick. I haven't really been much into the paranormal for the last, year or more. I sort of backed out a little bit. I have immune disease, and it's really attacking me really bad, so it's been very sick on lots of medication and stuff, but ended up doing the Paracon last year. And I was weak, I will say that, but I think while I was there was some things I don't believe were from Vulture, to be honest with you. I think they were brought with somebody else. I'm not saying someone did it intentionally. I'm not saying that. I just think something bad came in with somebody else. That came, or equipment, anything like that. But something was there, and it kept messing with me. It made me pass out. The night we were doing the ghost hunt, I ended up had to go back to the house because I ended up passing out. The following day, there was a lot of issues. I don't really remember much of it, to be honest with you. He was, and a lot of other people were too. There was a lot of witnesses, but I know that I just not felt myself. I felt really angry, and things were bad, just bad things around. And I know I ended up falling over, but I don't remember after that.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think that people quite understand, what the side effects are for doing what we do. And for those of us that are really deeply involved with it, and it's all-encompassing of our entire life, I don't think we ever stop to think, what that really does to, their health. I'm convinced that a lot of what's wrong with Marie is because of a lot of the encounters that we've had throughout the years has really weakened her immune system. And I think we have a lot of opportunistic, predator-type spirits that are on the other side sometimes, and they feel weak when they try to come in. And I think that was one of those particular incidents last year with Marie. But, yeah, I'd rather it be us than anybody else,
Yeah, I was very very blessed. We had amazing guest speakers with us last year that assisted us. I mean, it just, they're not even just guests, they're family. I mean, I was very blessed to have James with us last year. Tennessee Wax Chasers. They're my brothers. I love them. But they were there. Andrea Parrott, I mean, and Patty. And Andrea Parrott. I don't know.
We're sinking down on this.
I know. I think it's our house.
We're gonna eventually melt into the stove button.
But yes, everybody has helped me.
Thing, and I will say, my husband, he's not just a husband, he's my best friend. He's my everything, and I couldn't do anything without him.
You guys make a pretty awesome team. So, Jay, with your near-death experience, was that as a child, or what exactly happened with that? And did you have like more paranormal experiences after that happened?
Yeah, I had a near-death experience that happened to me on August 13th of 1999, to where, essentially I saw my body as a shell. So I guess I could say for a brief moment or a period of time, I was, on the other side. I experienced a pretty incredible experience that lasted for a very long time. Without getting into details of exactly what was going on at the time, I could tell you that, I saw my life flash before my eyes. I saw, pretty much everything in my life that I thought was like really terrible and just devastating. I realized that it really wasn't all that bad. So it was like recognition and understanding, like just supernatural intelligence of my life and what I had done thus far. I had a pretty negative experience with my near-death experience, to where, I saw a really dark place with some pretty serious, intimidating figures, and leaned towards my faith and kind of got myself out of that and able to come back here and talk about it today. But that would be a whole show just to get into that, because it's a pretty lengthy conversation. But yeah, and I would say after that experience for me, it did definitely open up the door even more than it was before. And it became even darker than it was before. And what I mean by that is demonically, there was a lot of things that weren't very happy that I came back to speak about truth in what I saw, almost as if they did not want me to speak about what I saw. Because, I mean, for a person like myself that believes like I do, that there is a heaven, that there is a hell. And with that being said, the biggest trick the devil has is that place nor he even exists. I can tell you, whether people believe me or not, it does. I was there. I saw it. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But I will tell you that it made me a better person. After it happened, I became ordained, and I tried to get involved in small group ministries and trying to pastor. And I essentially got excommunicated because I believed in ghosts and demons. And I would entertain people's conversations about their hauntings. I just, it wasn't really welcome where I was at, and it put a very bad taste in my mouth, and I was kind of lost for a good year after that. And then Marie and I stumbled across one another around that same time, so it was quite interesting. But I think the paranormal and my near-death experiences have made me have a deeper faith for me personally, in an understanding of life in general. I think I don't have it figured out, or I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, right? But I do think that I definitely think I have something to offer and possibly help other people, and that's why I still stay involved with it, and I still go out there and speak and lecture about my experiences. But yeah, it definitely was life-changing, for sure, and it's something I'll never forget. I remember it like it happened yesterday, just as quick.
He'll talk about it. I remember when we first met, and that was many, many years ago. Our youngest is 21, so it tells you. But I mean, he talks about it. When he talked about it, it's like he could talk about it the same way today, and it's amazing. Like, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't want to. I will say it to him. I'm glad it was him, not me, because I couldn't have done that. What he experienced. there's no way, but but he talks about it. And that's the one thing I'll say. People like, how did you believe him at the beginning? Honestly, if you meet Jay in person, I don't know. You know, when you look at somebody, you just know they're telling you the truth. Jay has those eyes. I mean, he just speaks the truth right out of you. And it's amazing. I mean, for somebody that I was in a really bad relationship before that, a marriage that was really, really bad. And when I found him, I was just like, oh, there's men like that? Besides my
dad.
But that
was it.
It's like they do exist.
yeah.
So what are your guys' plans since you have moved?
Plans after we've moved. Well, it's first kind of getting acclimated to actually being here, because we've been here just a little over a year. I think it's like almost going on a year and a half here soon. So, I mean, it was a huge change just getting out here, getting established and everything. But there is no shortage of opportunities for us out here. We are regularly approached by locations to come out to investigate some really amazing locations, and had some really amazing special invites to go out to some places that aren't very well known, which is something that we really enjoy doing. So we have a lot of those things lined up throughout this year to be able to go out there, kind of get back into it a little bit more. But we're excited. It's a different pace out here. I feel like
I think we took a year off. I mean, the only thing we sort of focused on last year was the Paracon. To be honest with the move and my health, we sort of just focused on the Paracon and my health and the move. So we sort of everything else. I mean, last year we got reached out by a lot of amazing paranormal teams here on the East Coast and all that. And we can't wait to work with all of them. I mean, we love working with different people all the time. I mean, that's something that it's always something we just love doing. And checking out all these amazing locations. Just last year, I think we went to one with one of our friends, Mark. He put on an event. We went out there for him because he's always been one of those people that's always supported us, and we wanted to make sure we support him because he's amazing here in Tennessee. So we went out with him one time, and we went to an amazing location.
I don't even remember what it was called.
Yeah, I don't remember. It was behind.
Where it's supposed to even.
I don't know if we're.
But anyways, it was a cool place.
Yeah, it was in the woods, and there was a cemetery there that was down. That's weird here. I will tell you, in Arizona, you don't
have cemeteries
in your home or in your residential home. Here, you can go into almost every neighborhood and there's some kind of cemetery there, and it's like, whoa, okay. So it's it's a different.
One thing I found that in Tennessee is that people aren't as open to talk about their paranormal experiences as they are back west. And if you're an outsider coming in here, it's a little bit more complicated to speak to those people about the hauntings, to get into some of those locations. So we have found that being a little bit more difficult than usual.
Well, no, we can get into locations, but a lot of it's because they want us on TV.
Right.
And right now, to be honest with you, I retired from TV. I'm not going to do TV anymore because of my health. I just can't do it. So you probably will see him, but not me. No more on TV. But I still love going out there speaking, doing, all that kind of stuff. But so people want us to do TV all the time, but we're not really wanting to do it on TV.
Like we ran for like 20 years straight almost. Like it was about 20 years straight, just constantly every single week and every single time off from work, it was traveling somewhere and doing something or filming. And it was like, I think after so long, we kind of needed to move and just kind of reset and refocus and rebalance our lives, because it was crazy. And for the last 2 years we were in Arizona, I was at Vulture City almost every single day and living haunted in my own home, not to mention dealing with all the spirits there, especially when pandemic and everything shut down. There was nowhere to go. So I pretty much, and you just stood in the town constantly. And we were completely surrounded by all of these spirits. I mean, we tell you names, associations.
I think I spoke to spirits more than I did human people.
And although that was a really great time, it was also very, very exhausting. Yeah. And it took a lot out of her, specifically having the illnesses that she has. And it was just important to kind of just chill out a little bit, reset. And we're kind of getting back to where we were at
even
some point,
the good
or a
spirit.
different steady pace
Yeah.
than what we were before.
I
where
mean,
it was just
spirits
constantly.
take, and you probably know this, the spirits, when they try to communicate, they do. They take your energy. I mean, that's just something they do. And to be honest with you, I just don't have as much energy anymore where they can take anymore, or I'm out usually. So, and I don't believe any of them are really trying to harm me. It's just now my body can't take them trying to take my energy and communicate like I used to. So it's been really
It's
hard.
just us being more responsible with, us, and, we're not spring chickens anymore. And, we got to
Hey,
worry
talk
about
for yourself. I'm still young.
You're older than me. But yeah, I mean, it and honestly, it was kind of nice stepping away from it for a minute to refocus and reprioritize. And there's still more to come.
I didn't realize how many different things were out there besides paranormal, because we were wrapped around the paranormal.
I mean, you're talking like 20
years
like,
and wrapped around
nonstop.
the paranormal, going, and then when you
Every
just stop
single day.
and you're like, and there's so many other things to do. Like, we went to a whiskey tour and tried whiskey tour, and I'm like, oh, they do this kind of stuff. I'm like, this
people
is cool.
go to the movie theater to actually watch a
a
regular
movie?
movie and eat dinner together.
I mean, the only time I ever went to the movie half the time was to do a talk.
We did like three
talks all the
screenings
time for the
for
movies.
years. We would get invited to go open for like Conjuring, Annabelle movies, and we would speak before the screening. And it was like, I mean, we enjoyed the movie, but it was like there because we were, connecting,
But now we get to actually go to, like, I don't know, see the Marvel movies in the theater. And I'm like, boy, people do this? I'm like, this is cool. And I'm eating dinner at 8:00 instead of 2:00 in the morning. So it's like, it was a really strange lifestyle change. And then us trying to get back into the paranormal now. I mean, with you, it has been a challenge.
I got like a curfew too, I think, for you. I mean, like, because you can only last so
long.
long.
I can only last so long anymore. I always say that's the reason I love the daytime ghost hunt. We do a daytime ghost hunt at Vulture City Paracon, and I'm like, I'm all for that one.
Well, it's amazing because a lot of people think like nighttime is the right time, which, it's quieter as far as traffic and stuff generally, depending on where you're at. But there's so much activity during the day. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Some of like the most crazy experiences I've ever had have been like in the daytime. Like, I mean, and I think that like people are just so caught up in the whole nighttime. It's scarier, and I get it. Like your senses are more heightened when the atmosphere is darker.
Well, the photos, you can get better photo taking. You can get better audio. Even during the day, you can get good photos. You just have to be like Vulture. I will honestly say I get more evidence during the day when we were there than at nighttime. Like, I honestly think Vulture ghosts, spirits, I think they go to bed at night.
Well, if you think about it, back then, though, dude, there wasn't like, I mean, they had to get up early in the morning.
Yeah, I know.
I went to bed early. And plus, I mean, shoot, it's hot in Arizona.
Except the brothel. The brothel's active at night. So that's completely hot. And it lights.
And a going on. Did you guys notice like an upsweep in the paranormal after the pandemic?
Yeah, I think like because we had an opportunity during pandemic to really, like I said, investigate like one specific location, but we also had a chance to actually go to some really cool places that like and got some amazing evidence. And what we noticed during that time, because we investigated a lot during pandemic and in isolated locations by ourselves, like a lot of these spirits, we were getting like intelligent responses and them being aware of what was happening. And back in Arizona, the Spanish flu swept through almost 100 years to the date when it was happening, with COVID. And it was like they understood the face coverings and the distancing. And
they were saying it. We have it on audio.
Empathetic and sympathetic of what we were going through. So we had some really interesting conversations.
They even when the whole because of that whole thing, they even brought up politics. Yeah, it's the strangest thing. We had our things saying Obama. We had things going Trump. We had things going Biden. It was the weirdest stuff. I told Jay, I was like, it's weird because I never had in all of our life. I mean, times of doing the paranormal, never had anyone say anything. In the politician thing.
It was like they were aware of our current political situation, or our economic situation. It was so fascinating to see that. And I don't know if it's just because the world slowed down and there was just less people out and about, or we were kind of tuned in a little bit more, or maybe a combination of both. But I feel like with COVID and since COVID, honestly, I think that the veil has thinned a bit from us and the other side. But we're also living in some crazy times, and a lot of people are really focusing more on meditation and prayer and different like outlets to really help them with spiritual enlightenment in whichever direction they're going to because of that. And I think people are having a little bit more work, personal life, and mental health balances. And I think that's also helping the field and people progressing and getting better evidence, better information, and better understanding to what's happening on that.
There was an incident. We had a really good a friend of ours, John Zappas, was out at Vulture, and he did the last year's overnight event with us.
Oh,
and
yeah, that's right.
We had experiences. So he was telling us about an investigation he was doing back east. I don't remember exactly the locations. I don't want to say what location because I don't remember. But the same spirits were coming in at ours in Vulture, and they were talking about the same. And then they started talking about the war.
They were talking about
Ukraine, Russia.
At that time, that was when everything was starting to ramp
and
up.
like things were coming through, like from Ukraine and stuff, and sitting there saying we're scared. It was talking about bombs, and it was.
But what's interesting is that happened inside the assay building. In the assay building, we've used so much. It's like that is almost like we've opened something, or that I think there was something already open there. To be honest with you, but I think we've tapped into it so well that it's almost like walking into a phone booth and making a collect call somewhere and getting like serious information and conversation with these spirits. It's just so much.
I will say a lot of teams that come out and they'll investigate Vulture. Tons of YouTube, teams to TikTok teams to, Ghost Bros to Ghost Adventures. All of them have come out there and investigated it. And I will tell you the two locations that most of them get it, assay building and the brothel.
Sure.
I mean, don't get me wrong, you can catch something in every location if you actually do. I mean, I've caught something in every building. And you can actually just walk in the town and catch something. But I'm just saying, they catch something almost every time.
It's like an open portal to communication.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah, and I noticed, getting more phone calls and everything like that, and it was hard because, several of our group, including me, we all got COVID. My husband almost died from it. But I don't know if that was because the lockdown or the fear and everything else that comes with it, or if the veil is actually thinned. But yeah, it just seemed like it was a feeding ground for all these different entities. It was pretty insane.
In fact, here after that lockdown, it wasn't but maybe a month later. And speaking about the veil being thinner or things changing or whatnot, I had an experience in my home. I don't think I've really ever shared this publicly. I've talked to a lot of people, maybe people that are listening right now. They're like, oh yeah, Jay called me about that. But I literally had to, what happens with the paranormal investigator is I call other people that I think are better than me. And I ask questions, but I had a really crazy experience one evening to where I was woken up by the presence of something, and I just kind of rose up, opened my eyes, saw what it was, and it was just a weird situation to where this being essentially attempted to lay down inside of me, enter my body, and I literally felt the movement of the body against mine, which was just very, very much so something I wasn't really not in my wheelhouse. Didn't had many experiences like that, but I felt like this thing was literally trying to calm me to allow its entrance into my body, and it kind of freaked me out because I realized wait, this thing is almost hypnotizing me and allow itself to enter me, and I don't know what this thing is. But what happens if the spirit jumps me? And then so I had to really pull myself out of it. And I remember literally fighting this thing physically to literally remove it from me to avoid whatever was going to happen. But I made a whole lot of phone calls and talked to a whole lot of people. And it was really funny at that time. I was talking to a lot of people that have been doing this for a lot longer than us and have some serious ties to the supernatural, and they were like, Jay, we've heard this. This has been happening to a lot of people. But it was scary. It was terrifying. But that experience, like, that was a little bit too personal, man. Like, where it was like you're trying to literally, like, but I mean, it could have been a good thing. It could have been a bad thing. But it was definitely something that
you felt uncomfortable and didn't want to do it.
I was freaked out. I was a little freaked out, I'm going to be honest.
I mean, I can at least take you to dinner and buy you flowers or something first.
Exactly. That's true.
Or you could buy your own self flowers. Write your name in the sand.
That's right. So we do have to go to our first music break. Did you guys want to come back for another 30 minutes or?
Yeah, we come back for another 30 minutes. We just have to get our song.
Okay, sounds great. So on this music break, we have Miss Mia Savage. She's actually a snowbird. She's originally from Arizona, but she lives up here in the Durango area as well. She's going to be singing Our New Reality, Let Me Be Your Home, Remain Crypto, and I cut off one song because it would have gone a little too long. But you guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break. Welcome back, sports fans. Sorry about that. Putting poor Marie to sleep. Got a kitty join us. I think I heard a dog in the background too.
Oh, probably our dogs are in the other one.
Nice. So, where would you guys like to go next? What would you guys like to talk about?
Oh, anything. We're open to anything. We're open book. To be honest, we always tell people we're more than happy to open it. We're just very honest and open to talk about anything.
So, did you guys have like any cryptic experiences down in Arizona?
Like cryptid experiences? I'm trying to think here. Like with cryptids.
That first experience I had,
that's probably the closest.
the closest I ever had, probably for me.
I'm trying to think, like,
because I've never had anything besides.
Well, the one thing that we that's constantly come up with my involvement at Vulture City investigations and whatnot, is something that of like giants, large indigenous looking individuals. Um, the native group that we work directly with there refers to them as Ya'i, which essentially these were like giants, gods. Others might consider them like in legend might consider them monsters. But we've come in contact with a lot of these giants. When I know when Ghost Adventures was out there, we caught this cool, what was it, like probably like 9 foot tall stick figure on the SLS, which is kind of interesting in an area that allegedly had a lot of giants. I had a really profound experience there years ago, and I was leading some people through the town and just showing them around. And we had a wooden table that was in the middle of this room, and I was kind of talking about a recent experience where someone had captured an apparition standing behind me, and I had set like a meter on the table, and everyone was just kind of in a large circle. When we looked down at the table, like it was myself and a few other people were looking at the table, like, what is that? And there was actually these imprints on the top of the table that looked like hands and like an upper like body, like had pressed into the table, and it just did not look like. Why would that be there? Like it didn't make any sense. Well, the longer we were in the room, it materialized more to where like this imprint was even more profound. And this isn't a group of like 25, 30 people probably that were in there that were watching this with me. And like it was crazy. And it really stumped me. And I really didn't know what to think about what it was. And we've caught some amazing stuff like around, we had a swimming pool that we investigated in an undisclosed location where there was a death that had occurred there, and we saw little footprints around the pool, like wet footprints. So we've seen things like that, like imprints, things like that, things that come up on a flare. But this, much different. And I was kind of stumped by like what it was. I just really didn't quite understand it. And I kind of sat on this, and I asked a lot of people in the paranormal community that I trusted, what they thought about it. And then I ended up coming in contact with our friends, a Native American group out there in Arizona, Unearthing. And I asked them about what their take was with their culture. And immedately, one of them looked at it and said, "Oh, that's Yeti." And I'm like, "You mean like the abominable snowman, like the Sasquatch?" Well, yeah, kind of. And I was like, okay. And they showed me what these Yetis look like. And they said, no, that wasn't an imprint. The Apaches in the area would draw on walls and stones and things of like this particular image. And it matched exactly what was on the table. So the way that they explained it with their culture was that this was essentially like respect, showing respect, and that you understand that you respected the land and they were sharing something with you, sharing their story. Which in that area around Vulture City was considered like the land of the giants. And the stories that we've heard from indigenous individuals is that many, many, many years ago, these large, tall individuals, they were worshipped as gods, right, by the tribes there. And as they slowly died off, they were buried deep within tombs all along that mountain range. And it was said that if anyone were to ever disturb the grounds there, that they would release the monsters, essentially these beings, these large creatures, these people, like, and it's really hard to open its interpretation of exactly what that is. But from what I gather from the indigenous individuals that I've spoken to, that these were essentially these gods that would be released, and depending on your motivation, you could have a very negative experience with these. And I could say I have not had a negative experience. I've actually had some very emotional experiences dealing with these Ya'i, these giants, and I think it's because I've also showed good things. Also showed only good respect and love to them, and that's come back.
But I will say, on the mine side, when they were mining, they were having some very negative things,
which always made me like kind of wonder why that happened. Well, going back to the stories of this being the land of the giants, that it was ever disturbed, that there would be like issues, there would be a curse sent down to man, and that's kind of like there's something called the vulture curse. They've done really good for a long time, and then boom, everything just went backwards.
And there's tons of gold there. It's just they can't get it out.
I mean,
and
but
like
another 20
company
years
after
from now, though,
company
like,
buys it, and it's
yeah.
like it runs out.
So and it's just and they have unfortunate events that have taken place there over the history of over 100 years. But the indigenous individuals really take it back to there that they're digging into the earth, and that they're having these experiences. But I've had pretty profound experiences with them. I've also had a lot of crazy things that have happened there, like in seeing dancing indigenous people. We literally were filming for Demi Lovato did a show out there. What was it called? Unidentified?
Yeah,
Unidentified. I think it's on Peacock. And we were out there, and when the producers came, we did like a walkthrough with them. And during the walkthrough, we actually caught or was it us or somebody else? I don't know.
We're the ones that caught. No, wait, we didn't catch the picture.
No, we didn't catch the picture. Someone else had caught the picture and showed it to us. There's so many pictures, folks, so I'm sorry. But there's a lot of evidence. But there was a photograph that came through which looked like an indigenous individual. And when I showed it to our indigenous friends, they were like, yes, that's an Apache that has head garb on. And like it immediately said exactly what it was. But this thing is like almost
it
full
looked
body
like they were,
apparition.
right next to another
It doesn't
person.
make any sense.
And these were producers for the Demi Lovato, and we're showing them a picture.
Them,
like, do you know who was next to you? And they're like, no, they weren't there. And I'm like, yeah, they were.
Funny story time too. So when these folks came out, they were all serious, like all producers are, and they're like, oh, like what's what, and I'm walking them around and stuff. I walked into the brothel, okay, and Marie yelled at me because I freaked out like a schoolgirl. But in the brothel, there's a kitchen, okay? And in the kitchen, there was a doll. And the doll was facing me, like facing towards me, okay? When I walked to the kitchen, this doll jumped up and jumped towards the window. Like it was like looking out the window. Like this thing moved like 12 inches and turned its entire body. Like when I tell you that I yelled, like, and Marie thought, oh, the producer's gonna think that we're freaking crazy. I'm like, well, they're freaking here for a ghost hunt. I mean, if they think that we're crazy because
if you ever investigate with Jay's a screamer. He's one of those very active, like I
have fun.
Yeah, no, but you hear every emotion from Jay.
I'm very emotional.
See,
it scared the crap out of me. But like literally, like that actually happened.
I always say he's the girl in the paranormal field. When we're out there investigating, he's the girl. I'm the guy. Well, seriously, I'm a screamer.
No, but like that. I mean,
unless it's a bug.
That's true too. But we've had some really amazing experiences. And when we're talking about like cryptids, those would be like, I mean, the closest thing that I could chop up to saying like a cryptid. I really want to see a Sasquatch, and me living out in Tennessee, like I want to believe that they are real physical beings. I want to see one, and everyone.
We actually get to do.
We've got some serious invites.
The East Tennessee Paracon in April 28th and 29th. We actually they're doing the ghost. The Bigfoot hunt.
But that's a live stream.
Well, I know, but you have to watch it.
Yeah, but I want to see the damn Sasquatch.
I know.
So, but like for me, I really want to. I've never seen one. I would love to see something. I believe it's probably more of a supernatural being, interdimensional being. But like, I would love to be proved wrong. And the people that have seen them said, no, you don't. But I really do. Like,
and we get invited out to Washington by some of our friends that we met up there by doing an event up there, Patty.
Oh yeah, because
always
they've seen
they've seen all that kind of stuff, and they're like, okay, bring Jay this way. Yeah, me, you know what? I'm not one of those. I grew up, like I said, in Indiana, Michigan. We're woods. So I grew up in woods. I used to always do everything in the woods. That was my big thing. When my parents told me not to go in the woods, I went into the woods.
But just because you didn't see a Sasquatch.
I was like, so I don't know. I'm not saying it's not there and what people are experiencing, because there's a lot of things that people have experienced. And I'm not one of those like, oh, that didn't happen. This is what it is. I mean, it's their experience. They do it. I just think it's things that we're seeing from a different dimension, and it's really not here. That's me.
It's really here, but the dimension is just in this dimension.
Okay.
And another thing that
I'm just saying that's why you can't find it, because it keeps going back to its.
No, but I believe that there's a lot of things out there that we're never going to be able to understand or explain. Like I know UFOs are a big topic right now in the news and the media.
Well, did they just shoot a whole bunch of UFOs? No, I'm sorry.
But no, like
I
had an experience where actually again at Vulture City, My son and I were there, and there was some YouTube group or something. I'm not sure who they were. They were filming. I can't remember who it was, but we were in the cookhouse, which has a balcony over the top of it. And my son and I kept hearing like this loud humming noise, and we didn't know what it was, but it was like this winding noise, and we thought maybe it was over on the mine side, but we weren't sure what it was. So we stepped out, and we both looked up, and there was a freaking craft above the cookhouse. Okay. And when I say it was a craft, like I'm telling you that, like, I don't know, I'm not saying that it was like anything extraterrestrial, but there was a craft above the building, probably less than 35, 40 feet, 25. I can't tell you, but it was big, and it was tan in color. I saw all the components. And
Funny
stuff
thing
around
is, he had a camera in his hand. No pictures.
No, Ben Hansen laughed at me. Kind of want to talk to him about that too. But like, so like, but here's the thing, like, I saw that was amazing. I saw it shoot off. It was going in and out, like, as it was shooting off. My
it
son
happened
saw,
on a ghost tour too.
yes, that did too. But like, people, I always wondered, like, with UFO like hunters and stuff, like, why? Oh, you say you had this great experience. Why didn't you get a video of it? Like, I'm telling you right
I actually
now,
could say I did.
you did actually. You did get a video.
See, I'm the type though that I will be in something that's scary as crap, but I will actually start snapping photos or
Which is
whatever.
smart.
I do. I have a big thing on that.
But sometimes we're so caught. Like, I wanted to experience the UFO. So, like, for me, the last thing I was thinking about was, oh, I have to take video evidence of this to show people. Like, I don't care if anyone that's listening even believes me. I don't care. I know what I freaking saw. It was some kind of spaceship. And I don't know if it was from our people or some other people in some other worlds. But that damn thing was above the building. I saw it. My son saw it. Actually, my son was punching me in my ribs, and he was saying, Dad, that's an effing UFO. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know what that was. But, like, none of us took photos of it. None of us took video of it. And then there was, like, some shows that people were doing. I think I shopped around to, and I talked to him. You got a video of it? And I'm like, no.
But I was in, we were doing, I forget, it was a walkthrough for something. And I stood it was like the center of the town.
Yeah, you kind of like a triangle shape.
And all of a sudden, something above me started blinking a whole bunch of different lights. And I really couldn't see the shape of anything. I really could. I just knew there was something there, a whole bunch of lights, and I started taking shots.
That evidence might be on the Demi Lovato.
Yeah,
honestly,
the Demi Lovato.
we never saw that. But, I mean, we saw a few minutes of it. But, I don't know. It might be on there. We gave it to the producers. I don't know if they used it. But, yeah.
I'm the type now that I won't watch what we've been on TV on. I'm sorry. I just don't. It's not like... I did it. I experienced it. But I don't really want to watch myself. I'm sorry. That's just who I am.
Yeah, same. I can't stand it. Yeah, it's pretty intriguing. I've had several UFO experiences, and it started in 2012. And I always believed in them because my dad did, and he was really big into UFOs, not really the paranormal. But yeah, 2012 was when it began, and it's funny, that's when I was pregnant with my son, and then he was born with 6 fingers on his right hand, so I'm like, is that anything to do with it? But yeah, we finally got videos of it, because like you said, like, I don't know, the first one we had out back there, I'm trying to get my phone to work to get it on film or whatnot, but couldn't. I just couldn't get it to work, so I just called the family over. But one time we're out in our yard just doing some gardening and messing around, and my 7-year-old, she's like, Mom, look, it's a UFO. And it was not just one, but 2. It was insane.
No, that's really, I mean, like, this experience, people are having weird experiences, obviously. And I mean, some of them pop as a big
There is something out there. I mean, well, we have, the galaxy is beyond how big. I mean, you can't even know how big it is. I mean, we have even, no human has
explored the oceans.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. There has to be something out there. It's just, what is it? I mean, none of us know. I mean, is it the green little things with eyeball? Like the red thing.
Well, it's graduated to grays.
Yeah, now they're grays. But
No,
I don't know what anything. I mean, it could be just look like a human. You never know. That's why I said
I saw the Phoenix Lights I guess I would have been a teenager at the time. But I saw the Phoenix Lights when that all happened, and that was like, that really set me off in my mind, thinking like, oh my God, like I really, like, I was terrified. This is like in the 90s, right? Like everyone was freaking out like about like alien autopsies and all this stuff. So like I truly thought like, oh my God, we're probably gonna get invaded. But like I saw the damn thing, and it looked like the only way I can describe when I saw the Phoenix lights, what I saw above my house, it looked almost like liquidy metal is what it looked like to me, like to where it was literally almost like moving water in the sky. I saw all the lights. You couldn't make out exact details. It definitely was triangular in shape and probably several football fields wide, is my interpretation of what I saw. But like the underbelly of it was definitely appeared to be almost like a liquid, like a reflective surface. It almost blended in with the sky. So like that definitely fascinated me at a very young age. And got me like kind of interested in reading about UFOs and UFO cases and things like that.
I used to make fun of him so much when we first started dating.
Hey, no, this lady, she's seen stuff. We were on our way to
now, yes, it's
where
different
the hell
now.
is that place out? Virginia City. We were on our way out to Virginia City, and we were there speaking at some event that was up there that Doug was putting on. But we were driving through the Nevada desert in the middle of the night, and
up by Area 51.
Yeah, like it was like probably still like 100 miles away. But Marie's like, oh my God, there's a UFO in the sky, and like this damn thing was like a UFO. It was triangular shape, the lights, it was like moving all around doing.
I still did not say it was a UFO.
To
be honest, I'm an Air Force brat. My dad's Air Force. Okay, so I will say a lot of the things that you do see on some of that, they do have ships that are triangle shaped and all this other
unidentified
stuff.
flying.
I understand that's what I'm saying.
Wait, what do they call them now? They call them something else.
I don't know.
Like UAPs or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. They do.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think there's something else out there. I'm not saying everything's Air Force, but I will say a lot of the stuff that we're seeing probably is Air Force, because I'm sorry to say our country's still trying to make stuff that we probably have a ship that we can't even see it. It's in front of us and it disappears right in front of you.
We've seen that too in Nevada. Remember they were doing we've seen a lot of crap. Maybe
yeah.
we should talk about it.
Just kidding. They're probably gonna kill us. The government's gonna kill us.
Someone's gonna knock at the door in a minute. Like, oh God.
Here comes the Men in Black. Yeah, every time I go down to Phoenix to visit family.
Men in Black are coming.
Yeah, I always look at the South Mountain and I'm like, something's gotta happen, but nothing ever happens.
Well, there's something out there, that's for sure. I mean, it's definitely a lot of people. Everyone has a camera now, right? So like it's so much different now than it was like even like 20 years ago.
But it sucks now because you have like TikTok, you have Twitter and all this, and people put so many fake videos out there.
For every one good photo or video,
I mean,
there's like 7,000.
And I'm not trying to sit there saying at all about paranormal people.
Let's just say they were the paranormal. Let's
paranormal does it too. But I'm just saying,
every good catch, there's 1.5 million.
Like these ones where they have like God walking out of the sky, and I'm like, that is so. I know it's like, come on, but it does really look real with the way it looks. You're like, what the heck?
Yeah, if I saw that, I would freak out.
I would probably freak out, but yeah,
I have to see with my own eyes.
I know.
Dude, SpaceX scared the crap out of us. We were we lived in the West Valley in Arizona because we had no idea anything about SpaceX, and we were driving. There's a video that we put up on Facebook.
Oh, we thought.
If you want to find it, you can probably search our pages on Facebook. But I swear to you, I thought like we had seen the most profound, like extraterrestrial thing in the world, or it was Armageddon. And but we caught that on video. But
I kept saying it was Air Force. I kept saying that, and you kept saying it was.
We definitely thought that was definitely.
And then he posted on Facebook saying, "Oh, I caught it at UFO," and then probably a couple hours later, somebody told us what it was.
It was still damn unidentified at the moment, so it was temporarily unidentified object.
Yeah, I actually saw that going down my driveway. It looked like a space train. I'm like, what the hell is that? SpaceX.
That's true, though.
It is true.
Do you guys have to go? I know you said you had to go.
Yeah, we do. We gotta go get our monster from work.
Oh. Well, so for our listeners, if they want to find you or check out your stuff, where should they look?
You can find us on like all the social media platforms. Jay and Marie Yates. You can go to yatesfamilyhaunting.com to see our work, the stuff we've done, our appearances, things like that, stuff that we have coming up, things that we've done in the past. But pretty much if you just Google.
I know the next Paracon will be the East Tennessee Paracon. That is April 28th through the 29th.
That's East Tennessee. And then we'll be
at Gettysburg Bash. We're very excited. Our first time going to be in Gettysburg. and the Perrys do such an amazing job. So we're very excited. It's going to be in July. They're calling it Christmas in July. So it's going to be fun.
So those are the two closest
Yeah,
ones?
those are the two closest ones. And then we have Vulture City Paracon, the one that we put on at Vulture City in Arizona. And that's October 12th through the 14th. So
And you can go to vulturecityparacon.com if you're interested in, like, you know, the whole event. So we have a Friday the 13th ghost hunt this year, which is going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then on the 12th, which is a Thursday, we're doing like a breaking ceremony, which is going to be awesome with Patty Negri and unearthing the supernatural. So we have a whole bunch of cool stuff planned. Saturday,
and we're doing new witching hour experience that I've never done before at Vulture. So it's going to be a pretty interesting Paracon coming up. But anyone wants to get a hold of us, honestly, Jay and Marie Yates, Facebook, you know, you can find us.
I can't hide.
We're an
Well, awesome. And thank you guys so much for coming out and hanging out with us and sharing your stories. It's been awesome.
Thank you for having, and hopefully we can come back on and we can try to do the full 3 hours.
Talk about some near-death experience, one more depth or something, maybe.
Right? That'd be awesome. Can't wait. I will definitely be in touch.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to it, and thank you for having us.
Thank you guys. Have a good night and drive safe. Well, it looks like it's just me and you. So, what I had planned for after the Yates would be leaving us is story time with me, Tessa TMT. You know what that means. Time to put on creepy music. Hopefully this works. Like, this system has been so weird tonight. And I know we generally do have issues ever since I've been using this new sound, voice meter banana. It's bananas. But yeah, tonight it's been weird as far as the music dragging and the skipping and stuff. It's like I'm playing a CD, but I'm not. It's actually really weird. Anyways, let's see, is this working? There it is. This song is known as The Creeper. So this will get us through to our music break. So tonight we are going to be reading Death, a history of man's obsessions and fears. Last time we were reading this, it was pretty gross. I was like, ew, what the heck is going on with that? So here we are in chapter 2, the fear of posthumous indignity, death and resurrection. Good friend, for Jesus' sake, forbear to dig the dust enclosed here. Blessed be the man that spares these stones, and cursed be he that moves my bones. I was actually watching something, it was the Foreman brothers, and they were doing an investigation at a house where there used to be a cemetery, and you know how back in the day when they're supposed to move bodies and they actually don't, so it made me wonder, did they move the bodies? Did they move those bones, or are those bones still there? And they got so many names and so much activity, it was insane. So the inscription on Shakespeare's tomb enshrines the inviolable right of everyone, friend and enemy alike, to be allowed to rest undefiled. The fear that one's carcass may be subjected to posthumous indignity is primitive and deep-rooted. In Britain, especially in the 50 years between 1780 and 1830, the chances of being dug up and removed from one's coffin were infinitely greater than the chances of being placed in one's coffin while still alive. Grave robbing was a largely British phenomenon, long after other European countries had made sensible provisions. British surgeons were legally unable to procure an adequate supply of dead bodies for dissection and the teaching of medical students. This potential dearth of anatomical material was readily supplied illegally by gangs of resurrectionists or sack-em-up men, who would, for a fee, transfer a corpse from the sanctity of the grave to the indignity of the dissecting table. The skill of a surgeon is directly related to his knowledge of anatomy. This would appear to be self-evident when, in 1687, Louis the 15th or 14th, Louis the 14th was operated upon for an anal fistula. The operation was a great success, due in no small measure to the fact that in the previous year the surgeon had practiced on 3 lesser mortals before having the confidence to tackle the royal rump. In the 18th century, bladder stones were much more common than they are today. Lithotomy, the operation to remove a stone, was attended by a 50% mortality rate. William Cheselden, by dint of practice and a knowledge of anatomy, was able to spare the operating time down to a phenomenal 54 seconds. Reduced blood loss and less profound exhaustion resulted in greatly improved survival rates. The Lancet of 1828 compared Cheselden's performance to that of Bransby Cooper, a surgeon whose hallmark was incompetence and whose position was gained more by nepotism than skill. In a full, true, and particular account, Cooper's bungling, due in no small part to ignorance of anatomy, was accompanied by his repeated exclamations of "Oh dear, oh dear." An hour-long operation was followed by 29 hours of excruciating pain before the patient mercifully died. Such an aptitude could be countered only by proper training in anatomy. Unfortunately, most people had such an inherent abhorrence of the idea of dissection that for centuries lower animals substituted for humans. In the misplaced hope that the anatomies of widely different species were fundamentally similar to man's, the most famous of Greek physicians, Galen, who lived in the 2nd century, derived his knowledge of anatomy from dissections of pigs, apes, dogs, and oxen. Thus it was that for 13 centuries the human breastbone was supposed to be segmented like that of an ape, and the liver to be divided into many lobes like that of a pig. The uterus was supposed to be in 2 long horns as in the dog, and the hip bones to be flared as in the ox. Sorry, I was getting a message from the Yates. They're so awesome. I really loved having them on. Can't wait to do it again in the future. When, in the 16th century, the famous anatomist Vesalius, the same person who supposedly killed a cardinal on the dissecting table, showed that Galen's description of the hip bone was erroneous. Apologists claimed that over the centuries, the human hip bone must have changed shape as a result of wearing tight trousers. I don't think that would do that. In such an atmosphere of ignorance, it is small wonder that surgery made little progress. Most physicians, looking down their noses at surgeons who sullied themselves by actually examining the anatomy of a corpse, would invoke the Bible. He that toucheth the dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days. In 1300, the study of anatomy was dealt a crippling blow. In that year, Pope Boniface VIII issued a bull excommunicating anyone who cut up and boiled a human body. This edict was intended to discourage crusaders to the Holy Land from cutting up and boiling any part of their number who died, in order that their bones could be easily packed and sent back to Europe for a Christian burial. Unfortunately, because the bull was taken to include dissection, the scientific study of human anatomy was virtually abandoned by the medical profession, and surgery became the province of uneducated barbers, bathhouse keepers, sow-gelders, executioners, and vagabonds. With the Renaissance came a renewed interest in the human anatomy. The bodies used were usually those of executed criminals, and demand invariably outstripped supply. Ardor for knowledge sometimes made men contravene civilization's most powerful taboos. Brondeller, a professor at Montpellier Medical School, dissected the body of his own dead child before a class of his students. And William Harvey, who in 1628 published his researches on the circulation of the blood, reached his conclusions by autopsy on the live and dead, including post-mortem dissections of his own father and sister. One would hope that Harvey's live autopsies were not performed on humans, though it is salutary to recall the ancient anatomists of Alexandria obtained the bodies of criminals for dissection alive and contemplated even while they breathed those parts which nature had before concealed. In Montpellier, in the 16th century, the French government donated one criminal each year for live dissection. That's sick. In 1540, during the reign of Henry VIII, an act of Parliament was passed creating the United Company of Barbers and Surgeons. To this company was given the exclusive right to dissect the bodies of 4 condemned persons yearly for anatomies. 4 bodies each year could never satisfy the needs of the surgeons, nor the 6 allowed in the reign of Charles II. The beadle of the Barbers' Company, whose duty it was to collect the bodies from the Tyburn gallows, often had to run the gauntlet of an angry mob, whipped up by the deceased relatives, intent on preventing the corpses being taken for dissection. In the company's accounts for 1719, and following item appears. So let's see. This is the anatomy lesson of Dr. Damon by Rembrandt. So this was 1606 through 69. The cover's trying to come off on me. Paid the beadle's expenses for going to Tyburn for body for the muscular lecture, when they could not get one by reason of a great mob of soldiers and others. 13S and 0D. Another problem alluded to in Chapter 1 is well illustrated by the following item, recorded in 1740 concerning one William Dewell, convicted rapist. Paid the beadles their expenses in bringing body from Tyburn. That was £2, 19, I don't know, is that shillings? And 0, what is that, dineros? Paid Joseph Willard, the company's clerk, his coach hire and expenses in attending the sheriff's when the body came to life. 10 shillings and 0D. Dewell's sentence was commuted to transportation for life. In 1752, Parliament passed an act whereby all those found guilty of murder were to be hanged and then handed over to the surgeons for dissection. In no case whatsoever the body of any murderer shall be suffered to be buried. So here's a picture that was John Bellingham was hanged for shooting the Prime Minister Spencer Perceval in the House of Commons in May 1812. A detail from a contemporary drawing by an unidentified artist. John Bellingham, assassin. Typical of the murderers who were publicly hanged and then dissected was John Bellingham. On an afternoon in May 1812, Bellingham walked into the lobby of the House of Commons and shot dead the Prime Minister, Spencer Perceval. Bellingham had previously spent 2 years in a Russian gaol, and on his release and return to Britain, had demanded retribution from the government. Although it was obvious that Bellingham was insane, in a trial described by Lord Brougham as the greatest disgrace to English justice, the witless assassin was condemned to be hanged and dissected. Duly, 1 week later, Bellingham was hanged in front of the debtor's door of Newgate Prison. He uttered his last words with impressive dignity. "I I thank God for having enabled me to meet my fate with so much fortitude and resignation. After an hour, he was cut down and his body transported in a cart through Old Bailey, Newgate Street, and St. Martin's le Grand to the beadle of the Company of Surgeons in St. Bartholomew's Hospital. A description of the scene has been left to us by Sir Richard Owen himself, a Bart's man. The college hired a house in Cock Lane, to which these bodies, Bellingham and one other, were brought from Newgate. Sir William Blizzard, the president, was attired in court dress as the proper costume for the official act. They heard the shouts of the crowd and then the noise of the approaching cart. Then came the heavy steps of the executioner tramping up the stairs. He had the body of a man on his back, and, entering the room, lets it fall on the table. Sir William Blizzard made a small cut with a scalpel over the breastbone and bowed to the executioner. This was the formal recognition of the purpose for which the body had been delivered. Bellingham's skull was lost for over 150 years until finally located in a box in the basement of the anatomy department by St. Bartholomew's Medical School. There was no problem in identification since someone had thoughtfully written Bellingham in ink across the forehead. It is eerie to compare a contemporary illustration of Bellingham, the noose around his neck, and the actual skull of this unfortunate madman. The ignominy of dissection moved condemned men to eloquence. In 1750, William Smith, an Irish forger, was hanged at Tyburn. While in the condemned cell, he composed a newspaper advertisement appealing for public subscriptions to save his body from the anatomists. As to my corporal frame, it is unworthy of material notice, but for the sake of that reputable family from which I am descended, I cannot refrain from anxiety when I think how easily this poor body, in my friendless and necessitous condition, may fall into the possession of the surgeons, and perpetuate my disgrace beyond the severity of the law. The deprivation of life is a sufficient punishment for my crimes. Those who, compassionate my deplorable situation, are desired to send their humane contributions to Mrs. Browning's, next door to the Golden Acorn in Little Wall Street. In 1828, William Corder tried and executed in Bury St. Edmunds for the murder of Maria Martin in the Red Barn. He was subsequently dissected and anatomized. A copy of the proceedings was later bound in Corder's own skin, which was given to the town museum. His skeleton was exhibited in a glass case in the local hospital. Beneath the case was a box for visitors' contributions. By means of an ingeniously constructed spring, the arm of the skeleton pointed towards the box as soon as it was approached by a visitor. The skeleton was later given to the Royal College of Surgeons in London, where it can be seen to this day. In 1775, William Hunter, the surgeon and brother of more famous John, was particularly excited by the physical development of one of the criminals brought to the Royal College of Surgeons from Tyburn. He thought the body would make ideal teaching material for students at the Royal Academy of Arts. While it was still warm and before rigor mortis had set in, Hunter posed the body in such a position as to show the muscular development to its maximum effect. He then allowed the body to stiffen, removed the skin from the corpse, and made a mold. The Academy still has the cast of such a flayed criminal, Smuggleress. Of course, class distinctions extended even to murderers. Old Ferris, who shot his steward, was not subjected to the indignity of dissection. He was executed in May 1760, and his body taken to the surgeon's hall, but after a small incision had been made in the chest, purely as a formality, the corpse was returned to his relatives for funeral obsequies suitable to his station. So the Smuggleress cast of a flayed criminal. After hanging at Tyburn, the body was put into an attitude, and when he became stiff, we all set to work, and by the next morning, we had the external muscles all well exposed. So on that note, boys and girls, we are going to stop there. I think we'll do, usually I do Reddit ghost stories, but I'm thinking about doing Reddit, what is it called? Let me look what I put in here. Mandela effect. Because last time I read that was pretty interesting, so I'd like to get more into that. So on that note, boys and girls, let's go to our second music break. On this break, we have once more Miss Mia Savage with her band Antidote for Savages, and she will be singing Bury Me in Heaven, which is one of my faves, as well as Not a Phase, Singing to Your Grave, and The Bottom Line. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break. Welcome back, and thanks so much for joining me this evening on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. So glad you can join us. So for this last hour, we are going to delve into Reddit's Mandela effects. And there's a few good ones in here. I was about to go over to ghost stories, but I did find a few interesting ones. This one is by u/din441. The song Special by the band Garbage was out in 1994. I swear I heard this song in the summer of 1994 on at least a couple of Singapore airline flights. I remember really loving it. However, I don't remember listening to the song again until around 20 years later on YouTube when I searched it out one night. The issue here is that this song was not actually released until 1998. When I did hear the song again after 20 years, it did indeed sound like the same song, but ever so slightly different. Though I realized that this part of it could be explained by a number of factors. The version I heard in 1994 also seemed more popular since it was on a pop airline radio station, while the 1998 version was like the third single off their second album, and the YouTube video doesn't have many views compared to their other singles or other 90s hits. I had also never heard the song again on the radio/TV after 94, and it took some searching on YouTube when I did try to look for it. Anyone familiar with this or have a similar story with another song? Then there's some advertisement. This one's by u/Linnea_Dow. I found a new one, The Twilight Zone episode 4 o'clock. In the final scene, when Oliver is looking out of the window, do you notice anything different? I hadn't watched this episode in many years, and then I re-watched it today. Anyone who has seen the original version should know the difference, so I will not give it away. Also, if you are new to the Mandela effect, here is a must-read post. Let's see what it says. Revelation 8:12. Time is 50% faster now. Russia, Ukraine could be the start of World War III, when prophecy in Revelation 8:12 has already been fulfilled. When you get to the time difference page, read the quote from 1997 newsletter. If Part A, Revelation 8:12, has already been fulfilled, then what does that tell you about Part B, the Battle of Armageddon? After you've read the material below is a rebuttal to the naysayers. If you haven't already done so, please visit rev812.com and then read the primer and time diff. They can be read on under 15 minutes before continuing. And then there's a rebuttal. Before going any further, make sure you have read the primer and the time diff. This is your final warning. When something hits too close to home, people suddenly become very dismissive about it. They love to ridicule the messenger, and they believe that groupthink can automatically override the messenger. The bottom line is that Del DeFay, and I really did perfect the counting to 10 cadence on Sagittarius Earth, So we know for 100% fact that this is a different planet. Furthermore, our claim about the time difference was so good that it ended up perfectly aligned with someone else's interpretation of Revelation 8:12. And anyone reading this should know why they perfectly aligned. Please stop fooling yourselves and deal with the reality. You know it wasn't simply dumb luck. Time cannot magically get 50% faster unless you are on a different planet. What's more, skeptics of the Mandela effect will eventually come to this sobering conclusion. The two paces, i.e. the speaking pace that is used in order to count to 10 in 15 seconds, which is pace A below, and the speaking pace that it is used in order to count to 10 in 10 seconds, which is pace B below, are too similar to be confused with one another. And thus the following scenario is not reasonably possible. Person X is absolutely certain that he has used pace of dozens, if not hundreds of times in his life for the purpose of counting to 10 in 10 seconds. He then discovers in astonishment that he was actually using pace B all those times he counted to 10. In other words, all other things being equal, such as discrepancy between perception and reality, is impossible. And bear in mind right now, I've only been talking about the time difference as opposed to also talking about where my heart used to be. Who used to be on the dime, how human skulls used to look like, etc. In July 2019, I felt my heart beating at the center of my chest for the first time in my life. Prior to July 2019, my heart was located on the left side of my chest. And this incident occurred before I knew anatomical changes were a component of the Mandela effect. As you can see, when it comes to examining this phenomenon, context is paramount. And as a skeptic of this material, you'll eventually reach a point where your counter-argument is no longer reasonable because it involves too many coincidences. In regard to people saying that my claim about time difference is based on the Bible, in August 2019 I had already made the claim that this planet is a replica version of the real Earth. My claim was based on things such as the changes in human anatomy and 2 additional occupants in the JFK car. It wasn't until the following month, September 2019, that I found out FDR was now on the dime instead of Eisenhower. And then in mid-September of 2019, I found out about the time difference. And then 10 months after that, on July 19th, 2020, I discovered Revelation 8:12. So, no, my claim about the time difference is not based on the Bible. In conclusion, I made the claim with 100% certainty about days being 16 hours long without even knowing about the existence of Revelation 8:12. That is what I experienced and documented in 2019 proves that the Bible is indeed true. Ultimately, one's worldview should be based on that which actually exists and that which is actually true. I would hazard a guess that your current worldview is based, however, on long-standing falsehoods. They seem very, very, very reasonable. Keep in mind, a long-standing falsehood that seems very, very, very reasonable is still a falsehood nonetheless. Frankly, I think it's high time you re-examined your own beliefs, so let me ask you this. All these years, where exactly have you been getting your knowledge from? Here are some questions for Christians, namely Catholics, Protestants, and Mormons. Will you foolishly decide to ignore all of this information? If you had been around when Noah was building the ark, would you have been Team Noah, i.e. a supporter of Noah's mission? Or would you have been Team Ignorant Masses, i.e. a member of the ignorant, worldly, narrow-minded masses? Are you currently a member of the ignorant, worldly, narrow-minded masses? Are you sure about your answer to the previous question? Before today, how exactly did you think the end times would play out? Is God obligated to make your version of the end times come to fruition? Why were you under the impression that your version of the end times would actually come to fruition? At the end of the day, when all is said and done, does your version of the end times have any basis on reality? Which one is more important? that which is actually true in regard to the end times, or your version of the end times? Why is everyone, i.e. the mainstream media, the alternative media, aka the mainstream media part 2, all think tanks, all governments, all universities, and all churches too scared to talk about this information? Don't you find it rather odd that in terms of media coverage, this information has never had its day in court, unlike, say, the Flat Earth Theory or QAnon's belief system? Which one do you care about more, the truth or your church? Or are you pro-life but not pro-truth? And finally, is there a chance that being anti-truth could bar you from entering heaven? Keep in mind that Jesus said regarding the truth, I could go on, trust me, but I will stop right here. And just to prove a point, I said all this without even mentioning the hidden hand dialogue. Who knows? So this one is by you/honk if you love weed. God bless the USA, fill in the blank. My girlfriend and I just discovered this, curious what everybody else thinks. And I won't forget the man who died who gave that right to me, and I blank stand up next to you. No cheating, go with your gut. Gladly, everybody saying gladly. Somebody says proudly. I gladly stand up next to you to defend her still today, is my memory of that part of the lyric. We all gladly, proudly, etc., etc. So this one is by you/I told you I'm not Rick, the E train of New York City subway. So I take the E train almost every day, and I always remember the logo of the E being a bright yellow. But I wanted to search up the route for the train and see the pic of the logo, and this entire time it was blue. I might be confusing it for R, but I always remember checking to see when the next E would arrive, and I always remember the logo was yellow. I might be tripping, but I don't know. So this one is by you/Dragon Station. For those who remember Nelson Mandela dying before 2013, when do you recall it happening? I thought it was in the 90s. I remember the funeral procession and everything. So, currently researching this Mandela effect. It's one I've never gotten deep on before, as I don't possess this false memory myself. But I've noticed a fairly wide range of experiencers' memories, generally from the early 80s and the early 90s, although some even later. Just curious, since there are tons of people with this memory, when did it happen for you? Particularly interested in those who recall hearing about it as a news story, but also interested if anybody remembers hearing about it later on, as though it already happened. Anything to help me narrow down dates of when this earlier death may have happened. Was he in prison? Had he just been released from prison? There seems to be a divide on this point as well. Please include everything you remember about what you heard of this news as well. TV, radio, from a teacher, thank you. Cotton Candy Warrior says, for me, it was early 80s. I remember the Challenger disaster happening the same year. It was a weird year, and I felt like I spent a lot of time watching the news in school. I watched the funeral, a long procession with lots of flowers, that's what I remember. I remember Ronald and Nancy Reagan and other dignitaries. He was in prison. It came up one night at dinner, and I argued he had died in the 80s. I looked online, and that was when I discovered the Mandela effect. Although my husband and I are the same age, he remembers every one of the common Mandela effect things differently. We are from different parts of the country, and I wonder if that played a part. This one is by Stunning-Remove 2243. This is really weird. I'm 27, and I remember in the early 2000s when I was in 2nd or 3rd grade sitting on my living room floor and seeing this on the news. I remember it super clearly. I remember it was a woman broadcaster, and I remember it saying breaking news. It was that he had died in prison. I felt crazy saying this, but I swear to God I remember it like this. I always ponder this because so many people I know swear they saw this. Later in my 9th grade, bio teacher talked about his death. I'm so confused. Dragon Station says, I'm confused too since he was released from prison a decade prior to that. And then Chickadee says, same, early 2000s, I'm 42 and was in college. Milkley 568 says, same here, early 2000s, I was in high school when I first heard about it, and I remember thinking, who is Nelson Mandela? I also remember him being in jail when he passed because it was a big deal. Impressive_mud8401. I'm 28, but when I heard Nelson Mandela had died, me and my partner, 34, had a conversation about the fact that we were sure he had died in prison before we were born. And then Throwaway 998I, I shared an article, Mandela hospitalized with tuberculosis. Mr. Ayob, the lawyer, said Mr. Mandela had been bedridden at Polesmore Prison for 9 days before he was transferred to a hospital on Friday. He said Mr. Mandela had been coughing blood and that about 3 quarts of fluid were removed from his left lung on Saturday. Dragon Station said, nice catch. I read about this, but hadn't seen the clipping. I'm wondering if he may have just died as a result of the illness in another timeline. Throwaway 998I said, that's my recollection, that malnutrition weakened him and TB finished him off. So many Mandela effects track back, arguably, to what seems like a 50-50-ish probability that swung the other way. And then Dragon Station said I did the same thing. Miss Papa Giorgio said in 1994, do you remember him becoming president? Is that when you realized he hadn't died? And then Throwaway 998I said, no, I realized it in 1990 when he was suddenly alive and freed. Like 4 of us were in the room when we heard the news and all of us agreed we thought he had died. Then we moved on with our lives without giving it a second thought. Real_antelope_148 said 2003. Dragonfly_moon said around 2003/2004, I was going through my grandmother's stuff in a closet to help clean out. There were a couple of magazines and I don't remember which one, but it was on the front and I flipped through the pages and read about him dying. I can see it in my head clear as day. Potential_pirate 1985 said, I remember it being early 2000s and he had died in prison after a lengthy illness. Black-cat 11. Early 80s, like 81 or 82, I heard it from my social studies teacher. He told us he died in prison and if any of us in class knew who he was. Spent the whole class time that day talking about Nelson Mandela. The class really left an impression on me. Never heard Nelson Mandela mentioned again after his death in 2013. I was like, what the F? He died in the 80s. I then looked him up and saw he was president of South Africa. Really blew my mind because I never even heard that he was president of South Africa. And I know it would have had my attention because of how much of an impression that class had in the 80s. Someone else said in the 80s. Sergeant Rhodes 16 said, I cannot pinpoint exactly when, but I remember when he died I was kind of confused. I could have sworn he died years before that, and I kind of keep up with things. It was the strangest thing ever. It still confuses me. I clearly remember this dude dying because I even took the time to learn a bit about him. I figured if everyone is reporting on this, he must have been important. Cobra 1519 said, this isn't the best sub for this question. Most people lately post about not knowing the artist to a song or thinking a tree at the end of their street was at a different location. Almost everyone in this sub tends to misunderstand what the Mandela effect is. Yeah, that's what it's named after, is Nelson Mandela, because everybody remembers him dying earlier. For For me, it was the 80s when he was in prison. He was killed in a riot. It was on the news. I remember Mom and Granny watching it, and that Granny was cooking breakfast. Dad, however, said, I was born in 84, and I remember him dying when I was a kid. I just don't remember exactly when, unfortunately. I want to say late 80s. Monato PG said, I know it's not what the OP is looking for. It's on the he didn't die side of the ME, but what I distinctly remember is the day that he was released. An old man walking out of prison, and of course, why this is memorable is that up to then, every Free Mandela poster or news story that I had seen showed a young guy. My first reaction was, who the hell is that? So somebody wants to discuss the definition of Mandela effect. Let's move on to Duncan. So you/Kino360 said it's called Duncan. Get ready, people. There is about to be a shift in the Mandela effect. 5 years from now, we will see it on this site. No more Dunkin' Donuts. Duncan, not Duncan. It changed to Duncan almost 5 years ago. I don't know who that is. This one is by you/Don't Scare Easy. The Boondocks/Family Guy. I'm tripping out, so I hope you guys can help in the animated show The Boondocks. There was a joke which I'll post in the comments, but it was about LGBT standing for lettuce, gay bacon, and tomato, but I specifically remember that joke being told by Stewie and Family Guy. Can anyone help? And there too. This one is by you/Hey Lisa. New to me, Mandela effects. Tell me if they're new to you. In the movie E.T., apparently, E.T. did not say E.T. phone home. Supposedly, he said E.T. home phone. I remember phone home. In The Matrix, Morpheus never says, what if I told you? I think the second part was everything you know is a lie, but I'm not positive about the second part. I just saw someone mention these two today, and my mind is blown, especially the E.T. phone home, because I watched that a million times as a kid. That was my favorite movie. He did. Minion54 says, in E.T. he says, E.T. home phone. The first time, then the kids say E.T. phone home, and then E.T. repeats the E.T. phone home line several times. Did you even check the thing before you posted? This one is by you/Night Honor. Didn't Mario Lopez host one of the American Funniest Home Video shows? Guess he never hosted any show like that on IMDb. He hosted Animal Planet, Pet Star. I remember he did a segment on viral videos for Extra or some show like that. No Officer says, not that I remember, Bob Saget did AFV and Dave Collier did America's Funniest People, if that helps. Not really. Switching bodies. So this is by you/dandelion_44. So I just saw a video that included a theory that every time you sleep you switch bodies with a slightly different version of yourself from an alternate universe. This, in turn, is why we have the Mandela effect. I honestly do not know how to feel. What do you think? Why do you think we have the Mandela effect? I've heard many theories ranging from the government, time travel, and parallel universes. I'm not sure what the reason is, but this effect definitely exists and is super weird. Megadeath621 says, sorry, I forgot our anniversary, but it's not my fault. I went to sleep last night. Oops. Yeah, I slept since. This one is by you/Red Eyes Set Go. Effect or false memory? Help me out. I vividly remember there being a judge who was a musician on a U.S. reality show that had a smaller than normal underdeveloped arm or hand. I have since learned this is not the case, wondering if I have him confused for someone else. Ginger_T said, the only person I know of with one smaller hand is now late UK TV host Jeremy Beadle, who used to fidget with his hand, making me too distracted and always looking at them but could never see it. I later found out about it, which led to the joke Jeremy Beadle's got a small cock, but on the other hand, I wouldn't know enough about American reality TV shows to know one way or the other as a music producers, etc., or they're faceless to me. So you/420_dad_of_3. Can we start categorizing the universe we come from? My theory is simple. We all have memories from our respective universes, hence Mandela effects. However, going through threads in the subreddit, I have noticed patterns in which some remember the subject in one way, whilst others in the current form. Whilst Mandela effects have been around a while, it is my further theory that CERN may be the cause of this, and that it may be causing tears in time, space, which are causing timelines to fuse. So I believe we should start categorizing our originated universes. In mine, it was Kit Kat. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Brittany was wearing a tartan skirt. She had a mic. Shazam was played by Shaq. There's so much more, but you get the idea. What are your thoughts? Robert Luke said, honey, I didn't cheat on you. That was clearly a me from another universe. Old Special TM said, personally, I'm from the universe where OP isn't a dumbass. It's like a little hard to believe, but for us, it was normal. Robert Luke says, there's no way I was wrong. I clearly remember something from when I was 6 years old. The only logical explanation is that we experienced a rift in the space-time continuum. Dr. Snively says, I want to know why nobody is from a universe where John Lennon is still alive, or where the Soviet Union won the Cold War, or where England won the World Cup last year. Why is always dumb crap like song lyrics and underwear logos? Throwaway9981 or 8i said, some will tell you that Lennon faked his death and lived the rest of his life as Mark Stacer, a John Lennon impersonator. To be honest, this entire conspiracy feels brand new to this timeline. Here's a video of him performing in 2006. Draw your own conclusion. WV Prepper said, you're the first person I've ever heard say that Shaq played Shazam. I think if I was describing the universe I was from, I would probably choose to highlight more important aspects than what a pop star wore 20 years ago. Megadeth621, dang, people really just can't admit that they don't have perfect memory, huh? Looking for Bobo said, I'm from the universe where everything was the same except Dr. Phil Cash Me Outside Girl episode aired earlier than they said it did. Captain Kirk 462 said, I am from Dimension C-139, the one that Linda Lovelace won an Oscar for her acting in Deep Throat. Old Special TM said, thanks for the post, OP. Any other fascinating theories you want to share with the world? It's amazing that your every example of time-space anomaly is some innocuous pop culture reference that can be chalked up to simply misremembering something. I'm gonna move on. This one is by you/J Sublime. When did Glenn Howard become Glenn Howerton? I'm confused confused about seeing Howerton. This seems like a very recent change that I've never seen before. Environmental-Ball24 said the exact moment someone noticed the typo and corrected it. Ninja Turtles. So, U/St. Belthanol Ninja Turtles pizza quote Mandela effect. So I distinctly remember watching one of the original 3 Ninja Turtles movies and seeing a scene where one of the turtles grabs a slice of pizza and the cheese stretches out and one of the turtles exclaims, "Ah, the dreaded cheese pool." But I couldn't remember what movie I saw it in, so I dusted off my DVD 4-pack. It also includes a CGI TMNT film. I literally fast-forwarded through all 3 films and only stopped for scenes where the turtles are eating pizza. Yet I couldn't find the scene. Is this a Mandela effect situation? Did I imagine this whole scenario? Is it possible that I saw something in a cartoon or TV show and misattributed it to the movies? I remember in Ninja Turtles 3 where Leonardo gets a cannon fired at him and he pulls his head into his shell and says, "Man, I love being a turtle." Anyway, weird obsession about this scene that seems like it might be a false memory. If anyone has any clue what I'm talking about, please feel free to remind me what it may have come from. I haven't seen the latest Ninja Turtle films in their entirety because I really don't like Michael Bay. So I'm certain they aren't in those 2 films. Decent Flatworm 4425 says, not sure why there would be a quote about pizza when the turtles only eat spaghetti. I think you're thinking of Garfield. This one is by U/Q3ZN2H20. Masi Campo Fiorini. I'm tripping out now because there's a wine which I've regarded as my favorite for about 20 years now, which is and has always been called Campo Fiorini. Everyone I talk to and multiple internet sources know what I'm talking about, but my girlfriend just brought home a bottle of Campo Fiorini minus the I at the end. And I'm now unable to find any visual representation of this wine with the I. How can this be? Boston Brand 82 said, how much wine did you drink? 420_dad_of_3. On your timeline, it was spelled that way. I had an hour-long argument with my son the other day that it is mirror, mirror on the wall in Snow White. It's magic mirror on the wall, apparently. I remember mirror, mirror. I don't know about you. Hello, Turbo Duran. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. So this one is by U/Intrepid-806832. War of the Worlds 2005. I know I can't be the only person who vividly remembers Tom Cruise driving a Smoking the Bandit-style Firebird Trans Am in the beginning of the movie. Saw a clip of the movie and saw it was an early model Mustang. Anybody else remember the old Pontiac, or am I alone on this one? Couldn't tell ya. U/Batmojo92 Titanic. Cal sexually assaulted Rose. Mandela effect? There's a scene that I feel is missing from the Titanic that I pretty vividly still recall, but can no longer find rewatching the movie. I was pretty sure that when Jack is arrested, there's a scene after the part where Cal slaps Rose in the ring, but before they go to the lifeboats, where Cal and Rose are on a staircase, not sure if grand stairs or not, and he is mad at her for wanting to be with Jack. Anyway, the scene plays out like this. She tries to get away from him after arguing, but Cal grabs a hold of her before she can get away. Then holds there and has one of his hands go up underneath the skirt of her dress, as if to hold her in place by her to assert dominance over her and be like, you my woman, you're not going anywhere. Made Cal seem like even more of a bastard. I swear I remember this scene from watching Titanic on VHS as a kid, 11 to 12, and I remember being pretty shocked that he did such a thing. But plot-wise, I always thought of it as the last straw for Cal and Rose's relationship. Anyway, as an adult, I swear this scene is missing from the versions on streaming services, and I've seen nothing to indicate it ever even happening on the internet. Am I crazy? Did this happen? Does anybody remember something like this? I realize this is an awful sounding scenario to include in the movie, but I swear I still vividly remember this scene. I've talked to other people, and no one I know remembers it. Mandela effect or nah? I remember when I was in MRP in the military, this movie was played repeatedly. I didn't get it. So Paper Bag Princess 1 says, I've watched this movie a million times and can assure you this has never happened. Aimlessly Adrift says, I recall a similar scene to that, but there was no skirt fumbling or kitty grabbing. But from off camera, he grabbed her by the waist and jerked her towards him, and she looked shocked. I'm not sure if that's what you might be remembering, or you may be conflating the scene with a different one. Or maybe I'm missing something? Who knows, but the scene I described would be in the time frame you mentioned. Mike Weatherington says, I do not recall this happening, and I loved this movie as a kid. Also, it was rated PG-13 in 1997. I don't see this slipping past the MPAA at this time. P.S. Women wore, on average, 17 layers of clothing at this point in time. There's no way he was able to achieve this. Farberware is actually Farberware? My sister got me a set of Farberware knives for my birthday. Oh shit. My daughter just brought it to my attention that it's spelled Farberware. Myself, my wife, and my daughter all thought it was Faberware. Are we the only ones? 1000% it's Farberware. The Terminal. This is by u/FOZ97. The Terminal. Borderline. I may be just misremembering a different film, but I could have sworn that in the film he carried his father's ashes with him, and he was a major fan of American baseball, and he wanted to take the ashes to the stadium and scatter them. Please correct me if I am just remembering a different film. Potatoes are nice. Surely a different film. His dad was a jazz fan, and the woman hopes that the box doesn't have his dad's ashes at one point. Ginger_T said people thought it was his ashes when they saw him look at the can and talk about his dead dad. But we see it open and it was full of postcards and other things related to music. River Militu says, I swear his dad was a baseball or softball fan. Serious_title 1383. See, I remember that movie having a different title. It was like The Layover or Flight Attendant. The Terminal was like an action movie. Who knows? This one is by u/Senator Vexillologia, Brazilian version of The Electric Company. Hey guys, my name is Joe Lacerda. I'm a teen from Manaus, Amazonas, Brazil. I created a Reddit account just to post this. Here's my Mandela effect. When I was a kid, probably 2011 or 2013, I remembered seeing in a local kids channel a show about a group of children who lived in a house that shaped like Neymar's works in the capital Brasilia. Look it up. It was a relatively small house that had a soccer pitch inside, a huge laptop, and many other stuff. Next to the house, there was a skate pitch, I don't know the name, where everyone could skateboard or parkour. The show also had two angry neighbors, a man and a woman, who wanted to destroy their house because they made very loud noises. Years months later, I discovered a show called The Electric Company, created by the same woman who created Sesame Street. I also discovered there was a reboot in 2009. The year is 2023, and I still don't know if that show is real or just a very bizarre dream from my childhood. What are your thoughts? This says, I'm from Brazil too. I'm 22 now, and I can vaguely remember the show you're talking about, but also can't remember details neither. What it was called. This one is by you/drawing and other stuff. Dumpster emoji? I recently was about to send a dumpster emoji to my friend and I realized it never existed. I swear I've used this before. Hello Star Sushi said, the same thing happened to me with the robbery emoji. I could have sworn that there was a robbery emoji, but in fact it never existed. So weird. What platform do you think it was a dumpster on? It's possible it was changed over the years. They do make revisions from time to time. This one is by you/snack-hoarder. Can I place a bit more emphasis on logic and implications here? Oh, this one's pretty long. I don't think I can get through it. Not before the show ends. This one is by you/JSD71. Star Trek Picard Season 3 intro in the 25th century has disappeared. I watched the first episode yesterday morning, UK. At the very beginning of the opening titles, in blue writing, was the text in the 25th century. Those familiar with the Wrath of Khan will know it had this title card 2 only in the 23rd century. So Picard Season 3, we're paying homage to it with this Easter egg, and I thought that was a nice touch and looked great too. So watching it again today on Amazon Prime, and the 25th century title card has disappeared. Anyone else, can you confirm this or not? To add, I had a reply earlier today, Sunday, from someone in Australia, where the intro is there for them on Amazon Prime. So it's both there and not there regarding Amazon Prime. To add, someone replied to me earlier that they watched it 30 minutes. I'm back. That was weird. So I asked them again to look at the intro. Well, they deleted their original comment. Thought that was odd too. Another reply from Retcon Sub stated, he just watched the 25th century intro 5 minutes ago. I noticed the downvoting. Just check yourselves, people. There's reference to the now missing intro on the internet if you care to look. So Epic Journeyman, who's a moderator, said, this is exactly how most of the well-known flip-flops have been reported, and it's kind of fun to watch this develop in real time. My sense is that the below-linked explanation in the comments is correct about some kind of editing issue. But this is precisely what many of the people who experienced the Apollo 13 and Back to the Future van flip-flops experienced and commented about in lifetime. The difference in this case is that nobody ever fessed up to being responsible and just kind of let it hang out there without an explanation. I've always been inclined to think those events were done using readily available technology, so it's interesting to watch this play out with this event. Anyways, boys and girls, we are at the end of our time. We have about a minute left before we go to the intro song. I'm so glad that somebody let the dogs out, because, yeah, couldn't go without some barking during the show, eh? Who knows? So I hope you guys have enjoyed Marie Yates. Had an awesome time talking to them. And then Death, the book by Robert Wilkins, History of Man's Obsessions and Fears. Pretty gnarly book, if you ask me. And then Reddit Mandela effect. I think I'm gonna go back to ghost stories because, you know, a lot of arguments and different memories, etc., etc. But there were a few interesting ones on there. Just not enough to, I don't know, keep me intrigued. I think people do have fluctuating memories, etc., but there's a lot of Mandela effects out there, such as Mandela dying. I remember him dying, I believe it was in the 90s? And then he just died, you know, not too long ago, so that was pretty odd. Anyways, thank you so much once again for tuning in to our Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. It was a pleasure having you, your listening ears, and your peeping eyeballs. Thank you to all of our friends on the Paradox Media's Facebook, KPNL Radio, Twitter, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and wherever else beyond the Omniverse that you've been listening or watching tonight. Can't wait to do it again next weekend. We have the Paradox Paranormal Forum, that's going to be fun. And then we have Vinny and Luke, Netflix and chill. Luke might not make it, but Vinny might bring somebody else on with them. Don't forget, you guys, we are all in this together. Together we can make the world a little better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. Probably not going to do a Skype after party tonight. Stayed up way too late chatting online with friends last night, but you never know. I might pop in there for a second. If you want to join us on there, give me a call, 970-335-9596, or look me up under live:tessa.n.thomas30. Until next time, nighty night, love and light to all my views. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Enjoy your President's Day if you get the day off. And I will see you back here, same time, same crazy place.